My name is Nick Petrecca. I'm a Golden Glove champion. Years, I want to say, memory's a little bad, but I was 63, 64. And before that, the Golden Glove champions, I won the CYO championship too. And that was not the same year, but before. They had 2 tournaments back then. And you had to win all 2 of the 3 of the tournaments to get. And then I won the national tournament in 1964, if my memory serves me right, which is a little scratchy. Well, the locals they had in 3 different places. First of all, there was novice, which I won that. And in fact, I think it was St. Rita. St. Rita was, they held it there, and that was one on the south side. Then you went to the north side, it was held at St. Andrews. And that was the same, that was the CYO, and then for the Golden Gloves, it was the same thing. Then you went to the Nationals, which they send a team from around the United States. I want to say all the United States, but I'm not sure if it was all the. They sent a team in there, and I don't remember if I had to fight. I know I had to fight once or twice in one night, because there was because there was so many people in that class of the featherweight. So the elimination had to do it. So I had to fight twice one night, and then I wind up winning the national tournament. And if I'm not mistaken, there was a guy that fought in there. I beat him, close fight. Ronnie Harris. Ronald Harris won the championship. I want to say the welterweight championship or the middleweight championship. I don't know what years, but he went on to win in the pros. What was it like? Yeah. Well, very nervous at first, till I got in the ring. Outside, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people and if I'm not mistaken, there was 8,000 to 10,000 people. It was a big deal then. I don't know how it is now, but back then it was a big deal. Probably is now too with everybody. But I got a little nervous, but going up them steps, when I go up them steps, once I put it in the ring, it belonged to me. And that's how I felt. And maybe that was why they wrote an article, I think that's somewhere in David Condon, used to do all that in the Tribune, that I belonged there. It's really great. I mean, that's the culmination of what you did and trained and what to do. Oh yeah, sure. In fact, going to the Olympics was my goal. And they came and they filmed some of the stuff and what I did during the day, And I was an unemployed truck driver then, and I would run in the morning and stuff like that, and then hang on the corner with the guys I grew up with. And that's where I got that scarf that's in that book. You see that little scarf? Well, they gave me that because they figured that I'd be one of the guys going to the Olympics. So they gave me that scarf as a memo. They took some films. So what we were doing, I was hanging on the corner, and then going to the gym at night or running in the morning and go. Mercy for the boys, Mercy Home for the Boys on Jackson and Racine, a little half a block of Racine on Jackson in the basement. And across the street was Fannie Mae Candies. Well, one I do know for sure. I had one fight. What? I lost. I count 61 and 1.
61
yeah.
and 1.
The
so
one.
Who did you lose to? Do you remember that fight?
I want to say Tony Gonzalez. And that was in Las Vegas, Nevada.
International.
Yeah.
That was at the Olympic trials?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so you remember that one?
Yes, I know. That's what I said when the guys asked me how many fights, I said 1. Well, it was big around in the Italian neighborhood. That went over real big. And then, one of the things I gave you, I met him in Las Vegas.
Rocky?
Yeah. Oh. He was all done fighting, then. And I think I met him in Las Vegas and with his family. And when they had that article, they were Rocky Marciano. He said, "What do you do for a living?" I said, "Well, I drive a truck." At that time, I had no job, but that's what I did. And it was nice meeting, you know.
Did you get a kick out of that article?
Oh, yeah. I got more of a kick because they said Rocky Marciano. Well, he was a champ at one time. Well, I appreciate that because Sean, he came down on the weekends to work out with me at the gym before I went to the trials. Yes, he did. And because couldn't get a lot of people to spar then, back then, in my weight class or over. Because I was always about 5 pounds heavier, you know, and then I'd lose a little weight and then it was 118 pounds I went down one time. But I didn't fight at that. I fought at 26, and I was always like 132, 133. Well, what happened was, like every other young man, I didn't know I was in a bad state right then, myself, personally. And you know what? I got drafted. Well, I wasn't doing nothing, I didn't have a job, so I went and pushed up my draft. You're gonna get drafted anyway. So I says, I said, well, if I push it up, they'll take you within a year. So that's what I did. And I got drafted, went to the Army. Now we're going, I'm on Taylor and Laughlin.
What do you call it?
It's Italian neighborhood, that's
Is
it.
that
Little Italy.
Little Italy? Right.
Oh, my father worked for Edison Company for 45-something years. And he wanted to buy a house on 35th and Pulaski. That's where he worked. He says, actually on Coster. He wanted to buy a house there, which we didn't. We went further south by Midway Airport. And that's where I live now, because I live right by Midway Airport. I'm still there. Oh, my mom was, I don't know, you probably heard of Al's Beef.
Yeah.
On Taylor Street?
Yeah.
Well, if you go by there, you'll see on the awning, there'll be a picture on one of the awnings, big picture, and there'll be Albert Ferrara, Chris, his brother-in-law, Francis, his sister, and my mother was the cook.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I heard about this, that there was a gym over there, and I wanted to see what it was all about. So I wanted to see what it was all about. So I went down there. And Jesus, I remember I was sitting there, and I started working out a little bit. And then the guy said, well, you're about this height. You want to spar with my fighter? I says, yeah, okay. He gave me a shellacking. He gave me, because I didn't know nothing about it. And he was a pro then. His name was Sammy. I want to say Sammy Giancola. I think he had about 9, 10 fights. Anyway, so I start training. The guy told me, get out of the ring. You don't know what you're doing. So I start training 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. I got in the ring with him again, and I gave him a shellacking. It was not a gym where I was training. That's where all the fighters trained, yeah.
Got it.
They all trained there. The O'Shea brothers, all.
Were they friends of yours?
Yeah, I knew them well. I mean, in fact, in the picture they showed, they took it for the Tribune. I'm riding a bike. I'm on the bike, not a bike in the gym, and he's pointing. And O'Shea is pointing. Rory O'Shea. They had about 4 brothers that all fought.
And they were the Irish guys, and you were the
Yeah,
Italian.
well, yeah, I was, but they were good guys. Let me say, they were good guys. Brian became. I think they all passed away now. Brian became a fireman. Rory went to camp with Muhammad Ali for a while. Then there was Tommy, was a school teacher at Wells. And Mike, I never met Mike. I didn't want nobody to beat me that I wasn't in shape. So whatever I did is to keep, I'm not running out of gas for nobody. I'm not getting loose that way. So they're strict. In fact, I live my life like that now, so, But I'd run in the morning.
You run every morning?
Now, no. No, but back then, yeah. No, I used to run just about every morning. But if I didn't, I'd go skating. Well, I liked hockey. And at that time, there was only 6 teams in the National Hockey League.
Oh.
So there was 2 rinks in Chicago. One was 7400 South Loomis, Michael Kirby, but it was outside, but it had boards. So there was another one, a Rainbow. It was 4600 North Clark. That's not there no more. So I used to go there when I didn't run. I used to go there on the weekend and skate. So I got to be skating, and I'd go there every weekend or once Saturday or Sunday. And the guy that owned the sports shop said, look, why don't you come around? The Hawks are going to be practicing here. So maybe, go out on the ice with them. Well, they did, because they used to have the ice capades at the stadium, and they would close it for 10 days or whatever it was, and they would practice at Rainbow. Glenn Hall, Ted Lindsay, I don't know if you've seen them in that book, there's pictures of them. And those are my legs that you see, because guys were taking pictures. And I used to skate around with them. Yeah, there was Sally St. Laurent, Glenn Hall, Ted Lindsay. Bobby Hall was a rookie. Bobby Hall was just breaking in. And everybody got his name. Despite that stadium, they got number 9. That's not his number. His number was 16. Then it changed to 9. Yeah, Commissioner Quinn was Bob Quinn back then. He was the commissioner, and he was a sportsman. He liked handball. That's how all the handball courts got in the firehouses, because he was a pretty decent handball player, and he liked all kind of sports. So I'm skating out there one day, and a lot of the guys, they had a hockey team. So the only guy that wasn't a fireman was me. I played with them for a while, and they would travel all over as a goodwill thing, from Chicago to Detroit and all around, just as a goodwill tour. And in fact, if my memory serves me right, Chief Prohaska and Neil Callahan became the Federal Aviation's Commissioner. He was the goalie.
Really?
Yes, true.
And they gave you a team jacket.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
You still have it?
Yes, I do. Well, I come home from the Army, and I'm looking for a job. So I went to the Union Hall, and the boss of the Teamsters then was a guy named Louis Pike. And he said, we got, it was during the winter. He said, we got nothing right now. He said, but here, you look for work, go down to McCormick Place. I was okay. So I go to McCormick Place, and I pulled right up, I had an old car, and I pulled right up in the front, and the policeman got out. He said, what are you doing? I said, I got to see somebody. You think you're going to park here right in front? I said, well, here these guys were walking out, going to lunch. And I says, which one is Bill Hogan? Okay, the father now. So says, that's me, what do you need? I says, well, I got this card from this Louis Pike. He says, maybe you need some help here. And he looked at the card and says, yeah. So you're looking for work? Yeah, he says, I was thinking maybe Monday you could start me. He said, no, you can't. No, now. So he said, right now. So one of his sons come to Hogan and said, you need to come out and grab me. That's when I went to work. After that, after the show was gone, then I went back to Louis Pike. We had a couple, like it was about April, then I got a job driving a truck. 57 years.
Wow.
Days and nights now. I don't want her to hear that. I got to eat today.
Oh.
Well, how can I showed you. From books that I've had, those are mine. And they're not in good shape, because I really didn't want to have them done, but I didn't want to give them to nobody to have that all redone.
These are scrapbooks of your boxing
Scrapbooks,
career
yes.
from when
Yes.
you were a novice.
I was, yeah, from all the way up. Yeah. And not that I don't want to brag, but there was a time that when I started, when you had to fight on the south side, then you had to go to the north side. Nobody showed up, and I won that without even fighting.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
That was
great.
yeah. But and they talk about going to the stadium. That's a big thing. That was a big, big thing for me, anyway. I want to say, if not the best, to the top because I played ball a lot. I mean, I did a lot of sports when I went to high school, this and that. In fact, we had a couple guys in ours that went to the pros. A kid named Jerry Arrigo from my neighborhood, and then they had a trophy in the on 24th and Marshall Boulevard. I went to Harrison, and they took a picture. MC Moore was a color guy, terrific, played for the White Sox. Jerry Arrigo and me, and we were in that picture in a big trophy. I went back because they closed the school to see if they had that trophy, but they took all that stuff and put it away and where. That was it.
Yeah. You hung on to a lot of your clippings.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
As many as I could, anyway. Well, first of all, it's a commitment. And I seen that just a little while ago with you at the gym. There was a bunch of kids there that day that we met. That's great. And he does it. Huh?
You mean
yes. Anybody that does that, you know, this is what I do now. This is here. It's conformity. I mean, there was a bunch of guys there. It wasn't that they were all going to be fighters, but their commitment was there. You know, that's what I thought. That's what I think that they need more of. And that guy does a good job. You know, he does a good job. He's been doing it a while, I think, too.
You went to Sam's gym.
Sam's, right.
Right, and you liked how the commits. So your advice to kids is to be committed.
Yes. In today's young age, they are committed, but they get a little off track. Now, I think that's more of them. So they can get back on track. It's just that there's nobody perfect in this world. How much you want to know? I mean, that's it. I got a life story here.
That is
my
a life
wife,
story.
yeah, my wife don't have all of this.
And
In
you
fact,
have your charms from
yes.
when you went, and we're going to have pictures of those
Okay.
alongside your video.
Now that one with the diamond.
You get it back.
No, I know. And I took them, all of them, and they're worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And they're historic.
Yes, they are. Yeah. And that's the one that I won in the stadium.
Great.
And then, you know, because I imagined that, I would say, well, everybody, that's the Chicago State. Oh, one other thing that I forget. The owner of the Blackhawks was named Bill Wirtz.
Yeah.
I got a point for him because I took his son, that's the head now, and taught him how to box.
You taught Rocky Marciano how to box?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
Well, what happened was I got a part-time job. I was driving a truck, and I worked for the Park District because they wanted people boxing to be in the Park District. So I would work there part-time. And Bill Wirtz was a friend that I had. He knew him, said he met me there one day, and we went to Governor's Table. Right down the street was on 31st for a dinner. And he said he'd like me to treat. I should have brought the thing from Bill Wirtz. And he says to teach my son Rocky. He's coming home from school, and I want him he wasn't in college yet. So I took him, and he come on a train and got off, and he come to the park on 31st and Halsted, McGuane Park. And I taught him how to box. Well, he went back to school and all that, and that's Rocky now. Well, thank you very much, and I'd like to interview.